This conference will now be recorded.
All right. Roll call quick here. Anita Seacat. Here. Brad Gorsuch.
Present.
Michael Welch. Present. Josh Weiser, President. Dax Kennedy. Here. Keith Jost.
Here.
Chase Gann.
Here.
David Mueller.
Here.
Randy Smith.
Here.
Delbert Lowe.
Here.
Nina Carr.
Here.
Sharon Olmstead.
Here.
And Russ Huey is absent. Okay. All right, first order of business. So let me go over real quick what we're going to do tonight. First order of business will be meeting minutes from last meeting approval and adoption, and then we're going to go into looking at the planning and zoning bylaws that were sent out. You guys have a copy of that. And then we'll enter a working session on battery systems and data centers. We will spend the majority of the time on data centers and a little bit on batteries. The moratoriums for batteries for 12 months. We've got 90 days on the data centers. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we get there. And then we'll also have some off-agenda items on the comprehensive plan. So let's move to the bylaws. I guess before we get there, everybody's got a copy of the new Article 19 and 27. Oh, sorry. We'll get to the meeting minutes. Getting ahead of myself. All right, meeting minutes. Everybody's got a copy of those from last time. Any questions? Everybody get a chance to read through.
Just a quick note on the number 3, my Y is missing on my name. Not a big deal, but.
What was that? Which sentence?
Number 3, new member, it just says brand.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? Okay. Do we have a motion to accept the meeting minutes with the one correction to add the line to Brandy's name?
So moved.
Second.
So moved. Second.
All right.
No.
Been moved and seconded. Any other discussion on this? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those that are against it, say nay. All right. Okay. All right. Now we'll get to the bylaws. So the copy you have, the red text is what was added by the county commission. The proposal, the resolution. In those sections, you will see a note that says original with removing a question mark. Those would make duplicate sections or potentially replace those sections. Do we want to go section by section on these? Get consensus. It's really first, really through section 3 and beyond. There were no changes to that. So section 2, the red membership of the Marion County Planning Commission shall consist of 11 members with 2 members appointed from each of the 5 county commission districts and a single member selected at large. Any concerns? Any discussion on this? Okay. Let's move to the next. Planning commission members shall be electors and residents of Marion County, except one such member appointed by the district commissioner may reside within the corporate limits of an incorporated city located within each of the 5 county commissioner districts, except that at no time should a vacancy or vacancies occur shall a member who are residents of an incorporated city compromise the majority of the planning commission. Any discussion on this one? are we good to move forward? Okay. All right, moving down, 2 members from each county commission district shall be appointed by said commissioner and approved by the majority vote of the governing body. The final at-large position shall be nominated from the unincorporated portion of the county and approved by a 2/3 majority of the sitting board of the county commissioners. Each member of the planning commission shall be appointed to a 3-year term. The person in good standing may serve on the board for no more than 3 consecutive 3-year terms, provided that the terms subject to the noted term limits shall be counted and applied to any individual member in the aggregate without regard to what position they are filling during any 3-year term. 3 3-year terms without regard to what seat or position the member is currently filling shall be the maximum term total that any individual member may serve without being subject to a 3-year hiatus. Once a member reaches their term limit, they may be reappointed by the following 3-year hiatus. Commissioner appointed members may be reappointed for subsequent terms, subject to the above term limits, or dismissed from the board at the end of their current term at the discretion of the district commissions. At-large members shall be approved for subsequent terms, subject to the above term limits by 2/3 majority of the sitting board of county commissioners. Once an at-large member has reached his or her term limit, they may never be reappointed to the at-large position. All members shall take the oath of office at the beginning of each 3-year term. No commission district shall be represented in the at-large position for consecutive appointments. It is presumed that each district shall be represented equally over time. Vacancies within the planning and zoning board shall be treated as expiring terms, and new members appointed and approved as noted above. That's a lot.
What does unincorporated portion of the county mean?
Outside the city limits, right?
Outside city limits would be outside of Hillsborough, outside of Marion.
Outside of Tampa, outside of Florence, outside of
Yeah, they're incorporated.
So
We have some unincorporated.
I understand that. I'm just wanting to make sure. I understand what unincorporated meant, but so on that statement, you're saying the unincorporated areas of the county.
Right.
Okay.
Any other discussion or questions on that portion of it?
I guess my only question here is, not necessarily a question, but maybe more of a comment, is how many of us are, basically, we're past the initial 3 years or a second 3 years, so, we're all, if we approve this, we're all gonna have to stand up and take the oath again, which is fine, doesn't bother me any, but, some of us have been on here long enough, so that would have to be repeated, I'm assuming.
Yes, and I think that after this is approved, at whatever point, I think everyone that has finished their term needs to be reappointed anyways. I'd like for the commissioners to just go ahead and reappoint everyone, that either everyone across the board or at least everyone whose term ended in 2025.
On that note, I would propose we also get a list for everybody that shows each name and when our term started, and so we all have a copy.
Yeah, there should be one in your binder.
Okay, I'll have to look at it. Other than that.
Okay, I'll get you one.
Okay, any other questions or concerns on this section? Move on, everybody good with it? Okay. All right, on to the Marion County Board of Zoning Appeals. The membership of the Marion County Board of Zoning Appeals shall consist of 5 members, with 1 member from each commission district, appointed by the commissioner of each commission district. Board of Zoning Appeals members shall be electors and residents of Marion County, residing outside the corporate limits of any incorporated city located within each of the 5 county commission districts. Each member of the Board of Zoning Appeals shall be appointed to a 3-year term. Members in good standing may serve on the board for no more than 3 consecutive 3-year terms. Once a board member reaches their term limit, they may be reappointed following a 3-year hiatus. All members of the Board of Zoning Appeals shall take an oath of office at the beginning of each 3-year term. Vacancies shall be filled by appointment for the unexpired term pursuant to KSA 1279A. Members of the Board of Zoning Appeals may or may not be members of the Marion County Planning Commission, except that at-large member of the Planning Commission shall not serve on the Board of Zoning Appeals. Any discussion or questions on this section?
So, one, just to make sure that I'm reading this clearly. So that'll, once we approve this, if we approve it, whatever, I mean, I'm assuming it's pretty much, we don't really have much choice in some of this, but then what they're stating here is that they want to appoint anybody else from inside, up in the county, they can appoint them to planning, zoning, and appeals, and then that's a whole nother list that we would have to make sure that we notify when we have specific planning, zoning, appeal meetings, and then that would be a separate meeting. Would that be, you breaking that out?
You can, sorry, I was trying to get this to share on the screen, so I may have missed part of that question, but if there's are you saying if there's a
So like.
Board of Zoning Appeals case?
Yeah.
So you can have the planning commission meeting and then open to the Board of Zoning Appeals, hold that hearing, close the Board of Zoning Appeals and reopen as the planning commission within the same meeting.
Okay, but if it's anybody, say the whole board is made up of none of us sitting on the planning commission, right? And it's made up of other people within the county, then that's a separate set of people that we have to make sure that we notify when these meetings are.
Right.
Just
Right.
making sure I'm understanding.
Yep, that's a good question.
So the Board of Zoning Appeals can be 5 different people than anyone in this year.
To be from each one of the districts, one person from each one of the districts. Or it could be 5 people from each of the districts that's not in this room. That's up to the commission. We adopt this, and
And do we have any idea, once we adopt this, how long it'll take to decide on who they'll appoint to this? So like if we have, say for the next meeting, we were supposed to do a planning board of zoning appeals, would that have to be put on hold and then wait until we got direction from the commissioners first?
if we approve this, my intent is to push it back to the commissioners and have the 5 appointed by our next meeting. I think this is our bylaws and how we're going to operate, and I think we push it back with the pressure that they make a decision and get that filled, so we don't hold up business if we've got appeals that we've been filled. Okay, any other discussion? Okay. The rest of it remain unchanged.
Generally, the commissioners are charged with the membership portion of those bylaws. And the planning commission has some say-so over the remainder of it.
Yeah, I think, my opinion is if we adopt these, they need to move fast. So it's not just 5 people. And that would be my request, is by next meeting, we would have the 5 people identified. Okay? All right.
Is that what you remanded, Sharon?
Yes.
Okay, seeing that there's no other discussion on these, do we have any other, since we haven't opened for the bylaws, do we have any other discussion or proposals for the bylaws? Since we're here.
I had a question on, I'm not finding it right now, but I know it's in here in 2 different places. It talks about a member in good standing, and there's no clarification as to what that is.
Okay. Do you have something in mind?
I just think we should probably clarify it. Leaving it up to interpretation would probably not be wise since.
Where are you at exactly?
Well, I'm trying to find it, it was on the
Okay.
copy, but I thought it was in section.
I seen section 3 disqualification.
So what does the term in good standing mean? Is that what you're,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, what would qualify as what's in good standing?
Which is, where are you reading that? I'm having a hard time following what you're saying.
It was on the other copy that I had, it actually stated, member in good standing in 2 places. And I just thought we should clarify that.
In the original version or in
Well, it was
the,
the first one that you sent,
Yeah, it's in-
because I printed it, and I'm not seeing it in here. This is just.
so put on the first page of this, towards the bottom, the bottom paragraph, the second sentence, members in good standing may serve on committees.
Okay.
So
What's this thing?
what consists of good standing is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, yeah.
And then it has it again for the planning zone of the house. So
Yeah.
Do we want to discuss definitions of a member in good standing?
Well, I just think that it's probably good to clarify it so that it's not left up to interpretation.
yes, I kind of took it as the disqualification
yeah,
section identified the, whether or not we're in good standing, but if we need more, that's fine.
yeah, that's in, so on the first page, Article 1, Section 3, disqualification. Any member who's absent for more than 3 consecutive regular meetings for reasons not considered justifiable by the commission shall be notified that the commission will recommend to the governing body that his or her membership be declared vacated and a replacement appointment be made.
Okay, so are we just giving that as the only disqualification?
What else would be, what are your thoughts on what else would be a,
I just wanted to clarify, so.
I think that would be a good place to put, if somebody that is in that section 3 would be somebody that's a member that is disqualified is no longer considered in good standing. Either that or have to change the verbiage in the red lines.
so what you say, Chase, a member who is disqualified?
Yeah, any member that is disqualified is furthermore considered no longer a member in good standing. That's a wild way of saying things, but I don't know how else to include it. Or they need to change the red line and it's, members must not be disqualified.
Yeah.
As outlined in section 3.
I think it's just as easy to add your sentence to section 3, that kind of sums it all up.
So the only disqualifier is being absent more than 3 consecutive meetings? Is that the only disqualifier? Am I
Yep.
understanding that correctly?
Yep.
Any other,
And that's,
any
yeah.
questions? Go ahead, Chase.
Nope, that's it.
Yeah. I mean, the statute, the Section 4 authority outlines the responsibilities of the planning commission and the board of zoning appeals.
Okay.
So all of those things would need to be followed as well.
Okay. As long as we clarify it, I'm good with it.
So no longer considered in good standing, or how'd you state that? Sorry.
Yeah,
Okay.
yep.
Reasons.
Yeah, a member who is disqualified is no longer a member in good standing. Now, is that member, say they're in the middle of their term, 5 years later, are they eligible to be?
Yeah.
Or is that our decision?
So you missed 2, attend 1, missed 2, attend 1 for 3 years, you're in great standing.
Yeah. As it's defined,
As it's defined,
yeah.
do we want to change that?
I'm just saying, if you flip it around,
Well, I think if the county commissioners could address that. I mean,
Yeah.
And we're all here because we're volunteering our time.
Yeah,
And if we decide we don't want to do that no longer, then we resign your position.
A commissioner about at any time has the ability to replace
Yeah,
the person
that's
in
what I
that seat.
figured. So you just leave that up to the commissioners.
So the disqualification statement of 3 consecutive regular meetings is just one written one, and then we have 1,000 unwritten ones. So it means nothing.
That's what's about anything.
I'm just saying, you know, there's,
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's
agree.
all I was saying, was that it's just good to clarify anytime you've got a statement that's vague.
Mhm.
That way there's not a million different,
Ambiguity.
yes.
we've defined
What?
disqualification.
Ambiguity is built in.
do we want to propose any changes to this or keep it as it is? I'm hearing no questions, comments, so do we want to, then we're gonna add a member who's disqualified, who's no longer a member of good standing to section 40 under disqualification. Okay. Let's close out that topic. I do have one to bring up while we're in the bylaws, and that is on the topic of MDAs for this board. I would propose that we not allow members of this board to sign NDAs with companies that are wanting to do business with the county or get a cup or some kind of permitting with the county. This is becoming a problem in other counties. And when you're under an NDA, and there has to be some verbiage around trade secrets and things like that, but it does compromise discussion when we're talking about permits. And what are you guys' thoughts on this?
Like, what's an example that you have?
What's that?
What would be an example that you're kind of alluding to?
Well, let's take down in Sedgwick County, for example. You've got, and we're gonna talk about data centers, you've got companies coming in like Google, and Sedgwick County commissioners are signing NDAs with Google. So how can they have these discussions about zoning and approving data centers when there are things they can and cannot say under that NDA?
Are they not supposed to recuse themselves from that conversation?
That's what I was gonna say. It'd be like signing a petition. If you've signed a petition for or against something, then you would need to recuse yourself from that discussion at the planning commission meeting.
How is that regulated? Because at this point, anybody could be under NDA and not say a word.
I don't know.
I mean, I think there would be, I would assume there would be some sort of something actionable legally if you don't recuse yourself from something that you shouldn't be a part of.
But I think that, isn't the idea that an NDA is keeping something secret that should be public?
Yes, but you can recuse well, not necessarily. Like an NDA is just,
It might be proprietary
yeah, it's
information.
proprietary information. You're just not supposed to talk about, like an NDA or agreement, you don't talk about the agreement, whatever that you made. But you can recuse yourself from a conversation without disclosing what your agreement is.
So what if you end up with, 3 out of 5 commissioners that have NDAs and have to
That's-
disclose and step back, then what do you do at that point?
It's up to the district attorney and stuff like that.
Well, that'd be
That could
up
be
to-
problematic.
Yeah, but that's what they are doing. I mean, they want to get you under an NDA, that way they're under your thumb. I mean, there's all kind of that stuff goes on.
Yeah, and if someone decided not to recuse themselves, we have no way of knowing that information, and then that would,
Unless it gets found out.
yeah, and then that's between the
Then it becomes
person that signed the
NDA.
NDA and the company and,
But I can tell you that if I have an NDA with somebody and I'm not gonna right that I'm not gonna, like, just because I have a random NDA with somebody, I'm not gonna tell everybody here that I have an NDA with them. You know, unless it's specifically pertaining to business associated with this commission. So, but I would recuse myself. Does that, I don't know if that
Yeah.
alleviates your concern or, then,
Somewhat. Again, even if there's regulations, that doesn't force the information to come out, so. I think we have to all be honest. I think days they're here when those are happening, and probably will happen more. So,
is any of that outlined in section 4 of the authority that refers to the KSA 12744? I don't know.
Is it in there?
Yeah, is there anything like, like I've heard other members throughout the years recuse themselves from decisions.
Mhm.
What guides that?
A non-disclosure agreement can be, I'm gonna build 50 low-rent houses there, and I wanna discuss with Josh the project because he has some knowledge, but I wanna hold him to, he can't discuss it with anyone else. And I make him sign an NDA.
So,
but at that point, when it comes before.
It has nothing to do with this board though.
It does if you're coming to this board to get a permit for it, a cut for it, because now I know about it.
But not if
Then
he's
you
talking,
recuse yourself.
Yeah, right.
But that's just common business practice. If you're trying to put a deal together and you maybe have one competitor out there, you don't want your idea to be out into the community.
see, like if he's asking you something completely irrelevant to the zoning of that, then let's just say you're a zoning guy. So he's asking you about computer something in the house. And he has you sign the NDA. That has nothing to do with the zoning and regulations of the house. So even though you do have an NDA relative to that aspect, you have not common knowledge of the project. He's not asking you to guide him on the zoning and planning of it.
True.
So
if you
that's
take,
the point you were making, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even if he does bring it to the board to approve the zoning of it, or I wouldn't see a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
There
We do
are-
have Kansas statutes on conflict of
I
interest.
was getting ready to say there's
That's why I was-
75-4301A. And it's for public officers and employees. And if you take a look at that, it talks about substantial interest. And it outlines those specific situations that may be a conflict of interest.
Do we have anything, does the county have anything that we require our elected officials? That we know that they're signing or don't, or not signing for, are signing, NDAs? Is there anything,
On this board, or-
like, in
No, in the
our,
county.
for the county, like our.
You can't go
county?
to some website and see every NDA, I guarantee you that. You know,
Yeah, they don't exist.
and that's part of why you have NDAs. Because you're holding business meetings in a private manner and trying to protect your business opportunity.
Yeah. But the county officials are required to fill out, a substantial form. I'm sure Mr. Bueller could, talk more about, but that discloses your financial interest to some degree.
Commissioners have to disclose.
Yeah, I think.
Well, I think
That
you have to
way,
disclose on
that way
this,
you
shouldn't we?
can't,
If we-
or something, yeah, so.
Well, elected officials, I know on improvement district, I have to fill out, or I had to fill out all those disclosures of where my lack of funds are coming from.
Okay, let's, good enough. I think we leave it as is. And move on. So the only change we made was in section 3, remember, who's disqualified is no longer a member in good standing, adding that text. The rest of this, do we have a motion to accept the new bylaws that were written here, that we went through, with the additional line in section 3?
I make the motion to accept the bylaws with the additions to section 3.
Okay. We've got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, been properly motion and second. Everybody in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody disapproves, say nay. All right, motion passes. Thank you. All right, we are going to move into a working session now. The intent here is to put information on the table for both BESS and data centers. Just a reminder, the BESS or the battery energy storage systems moratorium is for 1 year. The data center moratorium is for 90 days. So the goal on that one would be, can we get a set of regulations and recommendations to the county commission by the end of our May meeting, so they could take those up in their June meeting for approval. So first I want to let's talk about the battery systems, and then we'll go to data centers, because that will take a little bit more time. I think there is a definition of the battery systems in your packet. Yes, there is a definition here. I guess the first question, and this is, we're here to discuss it, so I don't intend and expect we're going to take any votes on batteries or data centers tonight. We'll go around. Go ahead.
It has not been public noticed
Right.
yet, so we cannot.
We'll probably go around and just understand what consensus is. But future meetings, we will take the votes. So I guess the first question I have to get the discussion going on batteries, what's this board think of having those battery systems in the county? Yes or no? I mean, where are we at?
I don't know enough about them to even make a call, like I said,
Okay.
just personally. I spent no time in preparation for that.
I personally feel they're coming our way. Batteries are necessary with renewables, whether it's solar, whether it's WEX. It only makes sense to have battery systems. And I don't know if this battery energy storage is it, let's say, if I wanted to have a battery system, does this govern me as an individual? Is, you know,
I think it defines basically a commercial grade or commercial scale versus residential.
let's say I wanted a commercial scale.
Well, okay, so commercial, say you've got a plant here, and I've got a large UPS system. That's a battery system.
Talk about
Right.
Spur Ridge across the street. They have a big set of solar panels. They very well could use a battery system.
I use the backup, the UPS system at home. I mean, in business, in our plant, we had large ones to back up our server room and any equipment that had to be brought down.
Well, if you have a cooling system to keep things from overheating or whatever.
There you go. And that's separate from the generator. But one reason for battery systems is so when you do lose power from the line, there's no hiccup in the flow of power. Where a generator kicks on, you're gonna have that trip, you're gonna have that spike or that drop. So I think as far as the definition, I guess we have to really. Because I bet you the schools have battery backup.
Yeah, there are a lot of places that have UPSs. I know like on the resolution 2609, down at the bottom, number 1, they note in excess of 10 megawatts and discharge in excess of 2 megawatts.
Where's that at?
That's resolution 2026-09.
I think then it would be good to probably incorporate that if that's what they've stated into the definition of the text initially. I mean, that way we have a size of what we're looking at, when we're doing this discussion.
Yes, I mean, I'm not as familiar with the batteries as other topics. Probably would be good to do some research on what are the residential batteries, what are the outputs, so that we don't back residents into a corner, put batteries in there. Do we have anybody on this board that is an electrician or has knowledge there?
Well, I think from the county commission discussion, we relied a lot on the joint hearing.
Yeah.
And so, remember, he came up with the language of that minimum, so in excess, that exempts, it clearly exempts your residential and your smaller uses. So, I mean, the commission's already come to that consensus. It makes sense, like Mike suggested, just include that in the definition.
That's what I would think.
And that gets us out of the whole.
Probably as best we've got is expertise in electrical, sort of getting another electrician here to come here and speak about it.
So was your question whether, are you wanting to know where it would go, or are you wanting to know what exactly, how do you want to?
Well, my question is, are these the right numbers to use? And I trust Jonah.
Yeah.
But my question is, are these the right numbers to use so that we do not prohibit residential properties from having a battery backup? Because we have a lot of folks that are putting solar on their house, and battery goes hand in hand on a home like that to store that energy in. And I think the last thing we want to do is restrict them.
Yeah, I mean, my sister put solar on her house and her battery system. I mean, it's nowhere even close to 10 megawatts or 2 megawatt discharge back into the system. I'm thinking you would probably be at least getting up into, say, a business size, like an automotive shop or something like that, that would be putting one on there to back up their system to get close to that size. That's my personal feeling on it from a little bit that I looked into it.
Article 19 has some information on the breakdown of solar, like utility scale solar versus residential solar.
So then we're talking about are we talking about unincorporated or incorporated? Like in the industrial area or in business, or are we talking in the rural?
We only have, our regulation, our jurisdiction is the unincorporated portion.
Now, what they do inside of Hillsborough Industrial Park, when they're in Industrial Park, we have no say in that.
I guess kind of my personal feeling is, yes, I agree with you, they are coming to the county, it's becoming more of a mainstream thing to see them, but I think that they are better suited for industrial parks of cities than out in rural county. That's my personal feeling on it.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
I guess I'll come back to Josh's information on data centers. Would that generally involve large scale battery?
It can.
I mean, if you prohibit batteries, but you encourage it,
Well,
they,
so that, when we went over to the NetApp data center,
Right.
they do have batteries in
right,
there for the switch over to their
Right.
generator.
Right.
So, yes, they will typically have batteries in there. What other questions do you guys have on batteries? What do we need to go research and get information on for the next meeting and subsequent meetings to come back with and have discussions?
For me, it's, fire suppression, environmental. Is the compounds of the batteries are pretty messy.
I mean, you can't, some of that, short of just completely flooding it with water, I don't think that you're gonna put them out once they're fully gone. I mean, that's,
And actually, water on the side of these battery types
It
is
doesn't
not what you want.
I'm guessing we're talking lithiums, ferrous oxide.
Well, and we're talking about batteries, the compounds we know about. The technology's flying. So,
So if I could get a direction from the board to request some feedback from the county fire chiefs, firefighters in the county, then I can send an email and ask that they bring anything that they'd like to bring to the table.
I think that would be good. I did talk to Jeremy, at Gospel, the chief, and, I mean, we just, and Brendan, the assistant chief, and we don't really, at least from Gospel's side of it, we don't really have any, say, training or true, batteries that we've really had to deal with, short of like hybrid vehicles, so, that's about as far as our extent or knowledge goes at Gospel, so we would probably need to maybe even look outside of the county for maybe a larger city or Wichita or something to see once if they have some sort of.
I'm sure KDHE has something on it. Like, those sorts of facilities are required to do like tier 2 reporting and stuff, so
Right.
there would be, all those materials would be listed on that tier 2 report.
Right.
KDHE then notifies the fire departments or LP, whatever the county person is for that.
the containment systems for the batteries, well, I don't want to say they have to, there should be containment requirements for if you have a runaway battery.
Right.
I have dealt with this before, but not with the newer type of batteries we have now. So, we did have it where we could lock it down and administer an extinguishing agent, or at least something to help neutralize it. So
The biggest issue is the thermal runaway, can't stop it.
that's why you have it in a certain type of containment system.
So
We need to
so
get
these
this
people that have
connected separate
FAA
outside the
experience,
facility and.
So they have like halon systems built into the skater
I don't think, I'm not sure if Halon even finds it.
For a simple example, everybody can understand, but if you fly on an airliner nowadays, you drop your phone, it gets caught or whatever, they have a bag, just a bag that they will put it in, and it will contain a runaway battery. Okay, I've seen, you can go online and see how it worked, so, I just want to make, my initial, point was, make sure that, if this is coming, we don't want to be over rambunctious, but they need to meet strict guidelines to protect our environment, our county. I use battery backup systems, and I make sure I don't go buy the cheap Amazon packs and stuff, so.
Delbert, is that something you could do, bring back to the board, just environmental and safety aspects that we need to be considering?
Yes.
And I can get in touch with KDHE also.
Okay.
Environmental and containment.
Yeah.
Teach me to open my mouth.
Thank you.
Just what you wanted this home.
All right, any other questions or concerns regarding battery and storage systems that we want to talk about here tonight? Okay, before we move on to data centers, I want to open up to the public if there's any comments on battery storage that we need to consider. Okay,
I will say one thing, we had our meeting Sunday, you were there. I think information is critical, making an informed decision is critical, and I think consensus is critical. I mean, if we can all if you guys can all get on the same page with your knowledge level, then I think that would be key to a good decision.
What meeting are we talking
So
about?
on student.
so there was a Patriot meeting on Sunday that's held once a month at the Lake Hall. I shared some of the data center information there. So that's the meeting she's referring to. And the same information has been shared to the commissioners about a month ago. Okay,
Also, real quick on the battery storage, we're using the term battery a lot. There's other types, and there's going to be other names.
We need to make sure we're using.
Energy storage system is what we need to be using.
true, good point.
Because with the stuff I mess with, I quit using batteries a long time ago. I use capacitors and things of that nature.
So
The stuff I have NDA signed off.
so that would, say when we do end up writing regulations, we need to define the types of energy storage systems, whether it's battery or.
I just think in general, anytime we refer to it, it should be the ESS, not just batteries. But
Make it more so it's more blanket in.
Correct.
Okay, any other topics on this, any other questions? Okay. Let's close out that, we will come back to batteries and energy storage systems next meeting. Just to kind of recap, Delbert's going to look into the safety and environmental aspects. Sharon, you're going to get with KDHE on this, and are you still going to get with the fire chiefs in the area?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll plan on having a discussion around those topics in the next meeting.
If you attend meetings with it, can you invite me so I can listen in?
The fire chiefs?
Yeah.
No, I don't believe those are open meetings.
Okay.
I mean, I can double check on that and let you know.
Well, because I'd like to hear their input and stuff.
Right.
Okay, let's move on to data centers. So I guess a quick question for the board. I have information on data centers I can share. Putting it all on the table. I work in the technology industry. I've worked in this industry for 30 years, building some of the and developing some of the components that go into data centers. I have no connection to anybody that may want to build a data center that I'm aware of at this point. If it does become something, then I obviously will remove myself from discussions. But I worked at NetApp for 25 years and we built and developed data storage systems. So all the data storage that goes into these data centers, I have built I have scoped AI data centers all around the world, so I've got some familiarity there. I think we've got other board members that have technology experience as well, so. Do you guys want to go through the data that I have to kind of set the ground for what is a data center and some of the definitions? Okay, I'll go through that real quick. So hopefully this will be fairly quick. Couple of things up front. Why is Kansas all of a sudden in the spotlight? I just listened to Barber County. Google presented to Barber County 2 days ago. They're looking at a 1,000-acre data center in Barber County. So Kansas passed Senate Bill 98, which gives them a sales tax exemption on everything that they put in that data center. And to give you an idea, depending on how big that data center is, they're refreshing things every 3 years, and it's millions of dollars in purchases to go in there. So it's a pretty big sales tax, pretty big tax exemption. In order to go through Senate Bill 98 to get approval, they do have to have a comprehensive water plan, which we're going to talk about water and power here. The Fusion Center, which is part of Senate Bill 98, to get the sales tax exemption, it's administered by the state attorney general, and they're doing backgrounds on the owner to prevent, we're looking at security risks. There have been folks down in Sedgwick County that are fronting Chinese companies to try to build data centers, and this is what they're tasked with to stop. The last point on here, the internet exchange point, this is another reason why Kansas is getting on the map. We don't have any in Kansas at this point. What that is, that means any internet data you have today, you send an email, you do a Google search, whatever, it doesn't matter. It goes to Kansas City, and then it comes back from that IFX switch. There is an IFX switch going in at WSU this summer, so that changes the game. And it's fiber. There's fiber connectivity all over this state, and you can be within 50 miles of that IFX switch, and it's like you're sitting right next to it when it comes to latency. So that starts to enable things like autonomous vehicles, whether they're cars, tractors, medical procedures, things like that. So that's going to increase and drive more interest in Kansas. I put this on here because I think there's been some perception of what is a data center and big. They're huge. This is actually where I used to work. This part of the building is the data center. So ignore that part. This is where everybody sits and works. This one's in Gospel, Kansas. This is right down the road. This is Nextech's data center. So they come in all shapes and sizes. This room could be a data center. So something to keep in mind as we're discussing. And now we'll get into what is in a data center. So you're going to have racks and rows that look just like these racks. And I mean, they're rows and rows and rows of this stuff that'll hold the servers, the storage, and the networking equipment. You're also going to have the support infrastructure. So we talked about batteries in the data centers. You're going to have your power that comes in. You're going to have your cooling system. We'll talk about the different types of cooling systems and your fire suppression. A lot of times now they're not using water inside of these data centers because that will damage the equipment. But I will tell you, we had a fire at NetApp one year and a fan sitting above our equipment racks, and that fire department had the most perfect aim with their suppression material. They did not hit any racks. They nailed it perfectly. I don't know how they did it, but and then you got your physical security. And this is one I think we've got to think about a lot, especially with even the energy systems. Data is powerful, and these data centers, do they become a target, terrorist activity, or what? I mean, they're something we've got to think about in the county, and are we prepared for it? So who's building them? This picture here, this is exactly what it looks like inside a data center, just rows and rows. You'll have real estate developers, you're going to have energy providers, you're going to have edge data center folks that want to put, it could be a medical company, it could be anybody. Hyperscalers is where it starts to get big. This is your cloud environments. AI companies. I am working with a very large AI company right now, and they're spending trillions of dollars out there to get this stuff built. The market is huge. And then you got your telco and pop sites, like the Nextech data center we had a picture of there. So the types of data centers, you'll have enterprise, built and owned by a single company. It could be anybody. Co-location, this is anybody sitting in this room could build a building and say, I'm gonna rent out space, and you can put your equipment in there. Co-location, if you go to Wichita, second Waco, there's a data center, and Boeing actually has part of their data center in there, but it's not part of the Boeing campus, as an example. Hyperscalers like Google, Amazon, Microsoft, these are big, like the one in Barber County we're proposing. And then Edge, which is our smaller facilities, to reduce network delay, things like that, respond to local inquiries, whatever they are, file storage, ChatGPT, things like that. So just examples. I put Edge up there at the top because I think that's probably where we see requests or a potential co-location. But with Google going to Barber County, nothing would surprise me at this point. These are all, every one of these, you guys probably know a lot of them. Different types of data centers, they all require data centers to operate. So this is one of the hot button issues with data centers right now, the types of cooling. I've listened to Sedgwick County, I've listened to the Barber County, I've been talking to Dickinson County. Cooling and power are have been the top two issues. And what I hear a lot about where they're going to use millions of gallons of water, and that is true, they could, depending on the type of cooling they use. Air cooling, which is what the NetApp data center uses, doesn't use any water. You saw those aisles here. You have these aisles, and you'll have a cold aisle, there'll be a door at each end of it, and that's where the cold air gets piped in. You'll have another aisle where there's no doors. That's the hot aisle where the hot air dispenses up and out of the building. Lots of air conditioners. The Barber County Google facility is going to use air as of 2 days ago when they presented. So air-cooled chillers, they don't use any water. Now the water-cooled chillers are going to use a lot of water. Direct chip to chip liquid. That's what this is here. They literally are piping coolant fluid into the server or the component, and that cooling liquid is going over, like I'm working on a project where they got a network chip in between two cold plates, and they pipe that liquid in there and out of there to cool the chip. This will be in the bigger data centers, especially anything for AI. Immersion cooling, they're actually immersing the components down in the liquid. I haven't seen much of that. I've got a picture of some of the, down in the lab where I work in Texas. I'll show you the liquid cooling. And evaporative cooling is high water usage.
Do they have closed loop systems?
That's some of these are closed loop systems. There are, I've been learning of some, they call them not necessarily closed loop, but they're actually pulling groundwater out, cooling their equipment, and then cooling the water and shoving it back in the ground. And I'm still doing some research on that. But
So it's like a class 5 well.
yeah, it's more open loop. And
I wonder if they have to do pH and water chemistry before they put it back in.
I don't know, I'm just learning about those, so.
So the chill water systems are usually a closed loop system, almost like a boiler system, except instead of
Dump it into
heat,
an empty well.
cooling in that way. You're not using any water, really.
Yeah. Just a power summary, kind of looking across the board at the different types of data centers. You can have a server closet. That means, in this building, there could be a closet back there and there's a rack and, 1 to 5 racks. Not gonna use a lot of power, all the way down to an AI training cluster, which is gonna be that of a steel mill. So a lot of power. Kind of breaking it down a little bit more on power per rack. The inference rack associated with AI, if you're going out there and asking ChatGPT a question, that's what inference is. It's coming back, it's doing the study and giving you the answers. A training rack is I'm actually training the models for AI, which is going to be very intense. And that's usually where your liquid cooling comes in. And then the Blackwell is from NVIDIA. So NVIDIA is driving a lot of this, and they're using a lot of power. And if you go into a data center with NVIDIA, you'll know it right away. You'll feel the heat. I don't know, I put this on here but I don't know how much it's going to apply to us. Given that most of the county it does have some Evergy coverage, but we're under co-ops, Flint Hills. And Flint Hills doesn't have to follow the same KCC rules that Evergy does, but if you look at the Google data center in Kansas City, they're going through this, and basically they have to get approved through Evergy for all the infrastructure upgrades. Google's paying for it, so that none of that gets passed on to the residents. There is a co-op, the one in Barber County is a co-op similar to Flint Hills, and Google has agreed to pay all the infrastructure upgrades over there so that it's not passed on to the residential. The other thing with the Evergy firewall is they have to agree to a power purchase agreement that for 12 to 17 years, if they back out of it, they're still going to pay a good portion of that, and they're still paying what they're looking at per month, so whether they use it or not. Again, I don't know how much this will apply to Flint Hills. This may be something we need the Board of Commissioners to take up with Flint Hills if we have a data center looking to come to Marion County. Okay, and I'll send these slides out to Sharon and everybody will get a copy of it. There is a lot of links on here, just real quick, and then we'll get to discussion. This one shows all the fiber in Marion County. Hillsborough and Marion have 2.5 gig fiber running through town or right outside of town. The rest of the county sporadic is 1 gig. These guys are going to use a lot of bandwidth. So the 2.5 gigs is probably maybe where they want to target. Doesn't necessarily mean they wouldn't target a 1 gig area or do infrastructure upgrades. There's an article on the Google data center in Kansas City, talks about the Evergy tax that they put on there. And this is a video, a walkthrough of a construction of a data center from ground zero to when the equipment goes in. So you can get an idea of what that looks like without actually going into one. But I will tell you the buildings, think of a Morton building sitting out in the middle of the county. So that the actual building isn't anything really to talk about. It's what's in it and how they're operating that. So, okay, any questions before we in that part of it? All right. First question, same thing I asked on the battery systems. Where's the board at right now on allowing data centers in the county? Just a point in time, a yes or no, as all I'm looking for, just to kind of get an idea as we discuss. So.
I don't think as a county that we can ignore it. I think we've got to look at every business opportunity and give it its fair shake and see whether the shoe fits. It's not like we have an abundance of people knocking on our door to come to Marion County.
Yeah.
So the answer, I see it as, we need to be progressive and look at it with an open mind.
Let's just go around. Chase, what are your thoughts?
just from my personal thoughts, I'm not sure that I have any yet, but from people that I'm supposed to represent, I've heard minimal opposition and nobody really pushing for it.
Keith?
I don't have a comment yet, sorry.
Okay.
I just, personally, I just have a standard of living and I'm happy. And, why did someone have to have all my data stored? And, like, I don't even want to put a photo. Is this photo going to be stored somewhere forever? Is it just using up memories?
I'll tell you this, data never goes away.
Yeah.
If you're using a phone, you're using the internet, data never goes away. They already have it.
But I like to see NVIDIA stock go up and they're talking about this. And so,
Yeah.
I know it's out there. It's coming.
It's out there. Dave?
Right place, right regulations. Make sure the concerns are addressed, just like it's been done with other projects. If it meets those requirements, it's an opportunity.
That's.
Yeah, I agree with the sentiment so far. Nothing to add.
Brandy?
I agree, I don't see it as something we want in rural county. I don't want to see the industrialization of our farmland. That's something that I don't want to see. I'm not opposed to data center if it's small, maybe something that's in the industrial part of the, but I'm not in favor of it being in the rural part. At this point, no, I wouldn't be in favor of that.
Okay. Anita?
Yeah, I kind of agree with what she's saying there. And, obviously we'll have more discussion to see what kind of opportunities that does for our county, because if they're getting tax abatements, that's not doing anything for our county. That does absolutely nothing. And if it's land and jobs to build, that's one thing. And it may be somebody locally that, a construction company, a local electrician, that feeds them for a month or whatever. But it doesn't land jobs here, and that's what we're looking for to, improve or, moving forward for Marion County. And that would be something that would be here for a long time. And those tax abatements are big. They're a lot of years ahead of us. So, more discussion. I don't want to say I'm opposed, but I'd like to know, just what it is what the opportunity, that they bring for us, because it doesn't really sound like much.
Delbert?
Well, you stole a lot of my thunder. I was trying to figure out, so what with the tax abatement, it's, what does this do for us? Because, no, I've never seen 1,000 acre, data center. But, that's just massive. But the data centers I've worked in or worked with, almost no one's ever in there unless they're undoing my cabling. I guess the thing that a lot of us, everybody here sees is what's on the news, and it's Chicken Little. I see Channel 10, Channel 12, Channel 3. Oh, data centers, and I'm looking at it going, it's just a building with computers in it, and they're screaming about how much water they use. Well, we have closed loop systems. My personal desktop computer had its own closed loop chill unit in it, and that's how I built it. And so my question is always going to be power infrastructure, fire suppression, Mother Nature, tornadoes, things like that, and I think these are common questions that I would assume that they would already have the answer to that before you could even ask the question. So there's that, and then keeping our farm and ranch lands open. I do not like the ideas of our wind generators, although, or solar farms, because they're not really bringing a lot to the party. I could see a large building out there that just looks like another equipment shed or something. I couldn't handle seeing an 80-acre or 1,000-acre building. But, some large hangar-style buildings or something like that, it's not gonna be any different than me looking over at any of my neighbors with their equipment sheds, cattle sheds and stuff, so. Then I'd need to really talk to the constituents around me, what their input is. And so I could go back to them with factual knowledge, not just Bob the cameraman freaking out,
Yeah.
getting clicks.
Right. Okay, so similar sentiments of Randy and Delbert here, but, I guess, from our tour and from, AGCO has one, we've got it in, I mean, it runs all of our production line, it backs up all of our forklifts for all of our machines, moving parts. We house it on site, it really doesn't add that much to the infrastructure, it's really in a fully concreted room, with AC cooling as you were talking about. I guess my personal feeling is I agree with Brandy, it should be maybe more in the incorporated cities and the industrial parks. But at the same time, the people that I've talked to, the people that I represent, there's not really anything that they're totally against when you put out the example that Gossel has one, or that it's in, high schools can even have closet storage racks and stuff. And once they kind of understand that, they're like, oh, well, okay, that doesn't really make any difference to me then. So I guess from our tour and looking at it, I think with more discussion on defining what type of building is required for, to your point, storm, natural weather. I mean, the big concern there with the wind farm was, plastics and fiberglass and everything else spread all over the county. And I know, that can happen on anybody's house if it gets hit by a tornado. But I mean, if we're going to accept one of these, I think it's something to consider in the regulations on what type of building it is put up that contains and can handle a severe weather. Fire suppression is a big one on my mind, and what kind of plans and infrastructure. If they are allowed out in the county, I think mandatory, it needs to either have some sort of infrastructure put in to have a hydrant put on site, or put close by for pumping, because if we got to run rural trucks and tankers, we're way too long of a response time, depending on where it's put. Most fire departments, if it's put out in rural county, you're talking about 15 to 20 minutes to respond to it. So those are kind of some of the things that are in my mind thinking about this as we're going to get into this conversation. I would echo some of the same concerns Brandy and Nina, Mike and Delbert have said. A couple other extra are the infrastructure around it, roads. Depending on the size, for example, the one in Barber County, they're talking about employing 300 people on site there. That's a lot more traffic in a rural area. So infrastructure with the roads and upkeep. Supposedly on that one, Google is going to pay for the roads to be modified, keep the speed limit the same, match turning lanes, things like that. And then decommissioning. What happens if they go under? what happens if they decide Marion County is not where they want to keep their stuff? Are they gonna leave a shell there? And then what happens to that?
And I'd like to throw out one other comment here is just something that from our tour thinking about, and I think you brought it up initially too, was, you know, if we allow them into the county, one of the things to consider as a benefit is how can our schools benefit from these computers? I mean, if they're changing things out every 2 or 3 years, I mean, technology's moving pretty fast that we may not get some of the tax abatements, but is there a way that we could get some improvement for our kids and education for our kids and stuff for more technology training and things like that that could go into the schools? That's just an idea.
Because I'd like to hear from the commissioners, you know, if it said, I'm just going to use Google or Salesforce or people who want to use. Salesforce came in, wanted to put one of these in. You know, what do they bring to the party?
Yeah.
You know, because now you're going to, you know, you're putting a building out here and now you're going to bring in infrastructure, you're going to do this and that, but what do you really bring to the party for the people of our communities? Because I still keep asking, what does the wind farm bring to the party other than what I see every day?
So with those two comments, let's move to what's important. I mean, I'm hearing some of that in some of our other comments, but what is important to us in this? We got, you know, benefits of the schools, benefit to the community. I heard Anita saying economic development. What are the other areas of interest that we want out of this? And I do agree, Delbert, I think there will be an aspect with our commissioners to negotiate what are we gonna get as a county on this. I mean, our job is to put a box, if we're gonna allow this, let's put a box around what they can do. And then our commissioners need to understand the position they're in to drive, and whether it's, okay, we're gonna get your equipment for our schools every 3 years, or maybe they have a payment in lieu of taxes that comes in. I think that's within the commissioner's realm, but we've got to pass the box of regulations to them if we're going to, as a board, allow these in the county. What other thoughts on what's important to us?
Just something I would be against, just for protection of our community and our environment, is the, anything where they pull water out of a well and put something back down.
I agree.
That's just the opportunity for pollution.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I'm against that as a component of any of these.
I would echo that. I mean, I think if we were going to put regulations out there, I think it should be focused on air cooling and or closed loop systems that's contained on their site with the way to dispose of it.
I think on the closed loop, we need to get further definition, because my concern is the one I just learned about yesterday and the last 2 days. They're referring to it as closed loop.
Oh, really?
And I'm like, I don't think that's closed loop. So that's something we probably want to put definition.
And even in the closed loop, that liquid, they've got to do something, they're gonna change that liquid out.
Right,
Right, it's a very, very slow process of that, so I'll give you an example. The F-35 production in El Segundo, California, I know one of the GE water guys that works on that system. That's a very true closed loop system. The California regulations are insane. I mean, you know, it's right there in LA. And GE Water has that contract, and all they do is they keep the water, they keep the chemicals in the water so they don't have to change it. They said they don't even have glycol in it, it's just pure water. Now, we live in an area where we may have to have glycol in it because of the temperatures, but, you know, all of our cars have it. So, so, yeah.
Your gas generated power plants do the same thing. Yeah, they have their water chemistry all contained in their facility and
Just like
don't put it back into the
Run
ground.
chillers and
Yep.
things like that,
Yep.
cool it down.
Yeah.
I just don't want, I don't know what's more efficient. I know, in data centers and stuff, you don't want to introduce any water, period, because some is going to leak. It's like fire suppression, unless I'm way behind. I think our data centers in Everett, Washington do not even have water running to the buildings now. The fire suppression is strictly a gas system.
In that part of the country, we had one in Beaverton. They didn't even really run any AC, they just opened the windows.
Yeah.
Because the
The
climate there is conducive to cooling it, so.
The one in Oregon?
Yeah, Beaverton.
Yeah, I've seen that. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
It's humid.
We did bring up one thing, you brought up security. So the counter, and I just kind of thought of that when you brought it up. You ladies brought up, you don't want it out in the county, you want it in the industrial part. Security wise, I've put on my security hat, and I'd rather have it out in the middle of nowhere to where I can have the area, fenced off to where we can detect unwanted persons or drones or whatever coming into that area. And if something did happen, it's contained to that area, not anywhere near population or large population.
Yeah, to that end, the building you guys went in and had with me, shortly after it opened up, there was 15 shots fired at it from that parking
Whatever you
lot.
say.
Luckily, the glass was thick enough, it didn't go through and hit anybody.
This is why we can't have those things.
What other items that we haven't talked about that are important?
Whatever we do, we need to do it because these things move fast.
I know. They're moving very fast. What about setbacks? Setbacks from any residence, if we're going to allow them in the county.
Well, if you want to talk about decibels,
Yeah. Setbacks and noise management. Most of the noise, I think, comes from if it's AC units, you're gonna hear a lot of that. I watched a couple of videos that the noise was very high pitched, so it cuts through a lot, which is something we've got to consider. So, and there is, we talked a little bit about it in the past, but there is infrasound, which is low frequency, that needs to be considered and in all of this. So you got dBA and dBc measurements to consider. And traffic can generate low frequency as well, so.
Well, and that's where I again go back to the industrial parks or incorporated cities, right? You already have daily noise and traffic and whatever regularly running. Like it's almost a dull sound that you tune out because you're already in town or you're passing through there. It's an assumed part of the county that you would expect to hear that in.
it's ambient.
Yeah.
All right, anything else? Okay,
I guess just a quick note on your setbacks. I mean, at minimum, I think it shouldn't be any less than the initial proposed here on the energy storage. I mean, this 1,000 feet of any residence, that's just and that would just be an initial, I mean, that's not even really looking into it, I would say it shouldn't be any less than that.
Does Oklahoma, Missouri, Nebraska, Colorado have one of these large,
Well, I know Oklahoma does.
what's the closest one that you just go drive past?
I'd have to go look.
Okay.
Oklahoma has multiple, and one of them is very problematic with water usage. I'll do a little bit of research on that to figure out and see what may be closest.
I'd be curious what Russ had to say too about other counties in Kansas that's done stuff on this. Maybe even just an article, you know, like what we would adopt, just kind of as a baseline. Where we do know something.
In your notes on looking into something good for road use and maintenance for this as well.
I do have, infrastructure.
Infrastructure, okay, yeah.
We definitely grow more than once every 2 years.
Hey.
And you have fiber optic.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but these
Yeah, I
cannot be,
You ain't even had one.
it would have to be on paper.
They could put them out there.
Yeah.
I don't know that they were.
That's
Want to.
I mean,
I didn't think they would want to.
But if you get
What were you gonna say?
the systems.
I was just gonna say that you might want to speak up a little bit so that the folks online can hear you also.
Okay. Yeah, I think that Brandy was asking about, could they put these on dirt roads? I mean, yeah, they could. Part of the problem would be the dust getting into, it's gonna get in the building, and that's not good for the equipment.
Well, they wouldn't want to put it anywhere in Marion County.
That's a really good AC systems.
I'm sure not South Carolina.
Yeah, that pulls us out.
They have to fix our roads first. Maybe that's what they can bring to the table, fix our roads.
Yeah, and somebody said something about a tornado. I was thinking the industrial park on the east side of Hillsborough would be a perfect place because tornadoes come from the southwest. So you wouldn't have to worry about the debris on the cities.
Yeah, it'll be up here somewhere. On the setbacks, the Google one over in Garter County is gonna be 2,000 feet minimum from residents.
That's why it needs so many acres also. Yeah.
I think they're gonna have two buildings, and then two buildings for the data center, and then a storage building for equipment. Okay. All right. So we have some homework. I'll find out if where some of these larger data centers are in the area, and I'll get those addresses, and then maybe we can even make contact with them and see if we can get them and see.
So what other small ones are around besides the one over in Russell? Is there anything else around?
There is one over on Second and Waco in Wichita,
Okay.
underground vault systems. The guy that owns that is part of the Greater Wichita Planning, which I've been attending.
Okay.
I could ask him if we could get access to that. He gave a tour a month ago for the Greater Wichita Planning meeting, and so we could see.
How big is that building?
I think the data center in there is probably about as big as this building is.
Okay.
And
Total building or really?
this whole building.
Okay.
And we literally were sitting in a room meeting, and the data center was on the other side of the wall. I mean, you didn't know what was there. But it can get pretty warm in there. They do have NVIDIA chips running in there.
Oh, okay.
Mountain Ridge has one where, so like the next tech station, that's at Gospel, they have one in town, that's also their office for Next Tech, so you can go in there and you can pay your bill, get another modem, whatever, and they have that in like a room this size, and then another room this size is their.
Doesn't Wheat State have one in Cassidy?
That's a good question.
I don't know.
Because I know I've got fiber in out of Cox Lake, and Wheat State, that's where it all goes. I don't know. I want to see one of the large ones so I can just drive by, stop, listen, smell, sniff, and kind of get a feeling for what the people would feel. As, you know, if they put one up in Marion County, chances are I would never get past the main gate, you know, so I want to know what it would be like for us, just to be the people.
So, one question I have with this board, we've talked a little bit about getting our constituents input. Would you guys be open to holding a couple of meetings over the next 2 to 4 weeks? Maybe one in Gospel, maybe one in Hillsborough, maybe one in Marion, kind of all over the county, just to have a public forum to get input?
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
Is there any
So
rules
how
on
would that work with, I mean, these are open meetings. So are you talking about having the planning commission host something somewhere or,
I'm saying informational session to give more opportunity for public input. Yes, these are open, but can people make it during the week? Maybe we have it on a Saturday for an hour. I mean, we would have to publish it anyway.
Well, it'd be nice to hear, not so much for us to discuss it, but to hear what people have to hear what they've got to say, to help quell any, you know, so if Jamie here, you know, saying these things bring aliens, we go, well, we don't have any evidence of that, you know, but, you know, we can quell some of the negativity that's not factual, but we can hear their worries, their concerns, their wishes and their wants, and stuff that would be under our umbrella, we can address those and put those, you know, do our job.
I'd just be a little hesitant to do that because then we would set precedent of some kind for every other topic that would be addressed to the board. I mean, it's not our job, or not, certainly not my job to convince these people what the stuff is or ain't, you know. I don't even know what it is or isn't. I mean, that was very informative, but, I mean, I'm not sure that it's our job as the board to inform.
I'm not after informing. I'm more after listening.
Yeah.
What are the concerns?
Yeah, and I think that should be an individual person's duty to do that with their people. You know, just like the wind stuff, I didn't have to call and ask anybody's opinion, they were calling me.
I'm starting to get emails on this.
Yeah, so because of that, because of your position, and because of everybody's knowledge of that, they're gonna let you know what they think, unless they don't care.
Right.
Most of the time, people that are okay with it, they're not gonna tell you.
Right.
It's the people that are against it.
Mhm.
So, you know, and if you feel like it's your own individual duty to get, you know, find out what maybe the other side is thinking, then do it. But as far as, I think, I'm against having public sessions or meetings outside of what we already do. But I do think to stay on the 90-day timeline that you should direct us to be prepared for, you know, what the next steps are. Next meeting, I'm not sure should be open to public comment, but I do think we ought to have something that can be talked about on the next.
I agree. We were gonna get to the additional work session here.
Yeah.
Before we adjourn, so. Okay, any other thoughts on that?
And then sorry,
Good.
just the one other point of business, I guess, is I would like to postpone conversations because we do have 1 year on the energy storage system. Is that the right terminology? Until after we're done with this, myself.
I agree. We have time. Go ahead, Randy.
I agree too, it's easier to stay focused on this and.
Yeah. Sorry, Dave, I wasn't trying to interrupt.
No, I was just gonna follow up on it. If you're gonna have public hearings, really you need to have something to have a public hearing on. Go ahead and get the expertise, get your draft. Once you have your draft, open it up to public hearing. Otherwise, you just got
Right.
Can we,
everything.
can we have Russ see if there's any other, I guess, regulations out there already in the state of Kansas? Is that already on the list?
That's already on her list.
On
I
her
probably
list.
didn't hear it, but I requested that. And that would be good just to have a
Now,
guide,
a
an
guide,
outline. Yep,
we can change it however we want.
right.
He did send that document that's titled ESS something or
Right.
other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He sent that verbiage from another community that's going through regulations on this as well.
And that was very helpful.
Yes, yeah. So a lot of good points in that.
Wasn't there a document that I saw, I thought it was a Kansas Commerce? It was sort of it went through and talked about, facts versus myths versus, it was facts, myths, and cautions or something like that.
Yeah, are you talking about the one I sent the link to
Yeah.
just yesterday? So yes, I did send a link to everybody. The Berkeley group out of Virginia, I believe, did that for the city of Wichita. I've talked to the planning and zoning, one of their employees, who gave me access to that document. It's public access. So, yeah, they were outlining all the different aspects to look at from the data center perspective. So I think that would be good for everybody to go through.
Anything that defines facts versus myths versus, where's the gray area, so, we know what those are.
Okay. So last topic on this, are we open to a meeting again in 2 weeks for a work session, given the short time frame of this moratorium? Limit it to an hour. I know we're all volunteer and we have to give a 10-day or 14-day notice.
For a special meeting.
Yeah.
I believe it's 10 days.
Okay.
Maybe the 9th.
Yeah, April 9th. And we limit it to an hour, we can focus on, we can limit the topic related to data center and try to close out.
So what, they needed it due by May, right?
Yeah, well,
They wanted a rough draft by May?
yeah, by the end of May,
By the end of May, they need.
So are you thinking like a work session and a meeting each month through May? Or are you?
I'm thinking in 2 weeks, we meet for an hour, and then we have a regular meeting, we'll work through some more items, and determine at that point if we need another work session before our next meeting.
Okay.
So this would only be a work session for data center
Correct.
discussion.
Yep.
Okay.
And we'll limit it to an hour.
Okay.
And I could, in the meantime, I'll consolidate the notes we've got, and in the next week, send out a note to everybody on what we will focus on. Get input on what we would focus on in that work session, so we can keep it central. Any objections to meeting in 2 weeks? Huh?
I cannot be there. I will be downtown Kansas City for
Okay.
But if this is, can we do this over the phone?
We have a virtual link.
Yeah, can we do that?
Yeah,
I mean, if it's only an hour, then.
Yeah,
Yeah. It has to be an open
yeah,
meeting, so.
we either have to record it and make
Yeah.
it available or keep it open, so.
So if I can do that, yeah.
We'll have that link on the agenda.
Yeah. Was it just like the call in on the
Yeah,
phone,
you can
like-
call in or.
Yeah.
or
Yeah, I did
it's
that.
the link. Yeah.
23rd.
May.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That would be the thought, given our
At 7, George?
Yeah, I'd say we keep the same time. Okay, with that in mind, we'll plan on to be 7 o'clock, 1 hour session for comments.
We are still considered in high fire danger through April, so
Yeah,
just saying.
we are still considered, but, well, we'll have to deal with Mother Nature.
It'll be recorded if I can't be here.
Yeah. All right. Anything else on data centers before we close out the work session on this? Okay. I think the next item is off agenda items, comprehensive plan, so.
Yeah, I just want to keep in the forefront of everyone's mind that we need to look over the comprehensive plan this year. I know that we're going through a lot of changes. Our comprehensive plan needs to be in line with our regulations as far as what things are prohibited and what things are encouraged in Marion County. And we also, I think all the 2024 census information should be published by now. So just to put that out there, make sure that everyone has that on their radar for this year.
Do we have any specific directives or directions from the county commissioners on that?
They
I mean,
have,
other than they want us to do it?
they have requested that we do discuss that, yes.
Well, besides that,
Besides these topics, or,
or besides us discussing it and doing something about the comprehensive
Mhm.
plan, is there any specific items that they're wanting us to include or disinclude?
gotcha.
Or look at, focus on.
No, in the moratoriums, they did mention the items that we're talking about right now, the data centers and the energy storage.
Who uses the comprehensive plan?
We're supposed to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
we're
supposed
supposed to.
That's not the question I asked.
When I'm doing my staff reports, I do.
Okay, so you're the one person in the county.
It's a whole lot of work to do a comprehensive plan, so I would appreciate it.
It wasn't a flippant question.
If you
Well,
It was a valid question.
all look at it.
have you read through it?
I have.
I have.
Front to back.
There's,
A few years ago, I can't remember how many years ago we went through it.
Yeah, we did. It was 2018, I believe.
The way that things have been put.
18.
yeah, it's,
I don't know. I've been here for like 57 years. I don't remember.
Who is responsible ultimately for drafting the entire comprehensive plan? Like where is that?
All compiled. Who does?
So
Well, where
it's
does
generally done by a consultant.
Okay, but like is it our job to make our own make the comprehensive plan, or is that more the county commissioner's job of where they want the county to go for their comprehensive plan?
If the commissioners have things that they would like to include in the comprehensive plan, they can give us that directive. But typically what will happen is that, a consultant will guide the planning commission. They'll pull all the information, like the census information, all the demographics and those pieces of information. But then as far as the language regarding, the prohibitions and the things that we're wanting to bring to Marion County, that language is typically formed through this committee and then helped formatted by a consultant.
And it's put in the drawer, and then next year we're gonna look at it again.
I'm gonna make you read it front to back, Brad.
yeah.
Memorize it.
So this 2024 census.
There will be quizzes. There will be quizzes.
Okay.
This 2024 census info, is it online?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, when they do the census, the US Census, it takes a long time for them to get that information all formatted and then actually published to the public, so.
Okay. I would encourage everybody to read it because some of the challenging things in there, some of the topics we talked about, there is a big focus on keeping the county predominantly agricultural. There is no, and they talk about specifically industrial and limited residential in there, so that should guide us on what we're considering. And if we're gonna change and we're gonna allow data centers in the county, the comprehensive plan probably ought to reflect that, otherwise the county could be looking at legal challenges. So I would encourage everybody to read it. It's online, it's not very long, there's a lot of good information in it, so. All right, with that, I think that was the last topic. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
I sent it.
All right, and probably a motion in a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against, say nay. All right, thanks, everybody.
Yeah. Well,